Last time on the Empire's Edge. So what's your first course of action? To lay low for... Let me think about that, resting. You do note that as the late afternoon is wearing away, there are very dark clouds that are forming in that direction.
I can't picture this. So it's like there's been like an avalanche or something?
Exactly.
Yeah, like what happened to the towers happened to the road.
I'll take the front then, for keeping eyes on trail.
There's more and more material like sliding out from beneath her that is threatening to undermine where the two of you are standing at this point too.
Oh crap, that's not good.
Feels to me like the bad spots are roughly this general, all of it.
This is intense. Can I go back to fighting Ettins?
Yeah, right?
And I lay on the ground and contemplate why I didn't turn myself into a mountain goat.
You get right to that pass, and then beyond that and through the rest of the pass, you can look down and see the valley of Sarn-Tar-Azul. So you're approaching that remains of a stone wall, like a circular wall. What do you guys do as you're coming up on it?
I have set up camp because I'm tired.
I second that emotion.
So outside of the stone wall area or inside it?
Inside the stone wall area.
Okay, so yeah, on the north side of the inside of that structure, you'd have the most protection from wind and rain.
Cover, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so you guys take, whatever.
It's still raining, isn't it?
Yeah, but not as severely as what it was. And the ridge is also off to your right. As this ridge didn't quite tee into another set of ridges, this passes a low spot in that ridge. And so that's where you're cutting through. It's where you are right now. But you are partially protected by all the mountainous structure off to your right-hand side.
I was thinking this was going to be one of those purely plot storms, and as soon as we get through it, it goes, and the sun comes out. If you only waited 5 minutes, you wouldn't have had to deal with
it
all
would
of
have been
that.
so easy. No, it lasted for a long time after that.
Yeah, right?
And that's why we need Druidcraft. We need to get our weather updates.
Oh, yeah.
So-
I gotta get that spell.
So half an hour later, your camp is set. Do you want to do exploring now? You still have some daylight, or do you want to wait until tomorrow?
No, it is currently raining.
Okay, yeah, so then
Yeah, I
you
probably
guys
wouldn't even
bed
be able to
down.
find any animals if I was going to try and hunt for anything at this moment.
Yeah,
Let me
They'd all
roll
be
for
hiding.
Cold camp and rations.
There's no
Because I don't have any
encounters.
spells that start fires.
No encounters overnight.
Zelen.
So you realize you were all so tired you didn't set a watch, and you all wake up and you're still alive.
Sweet.
Oh,
Yay!
wouldn't that have been an awful end of the podcast?
You wake up and you're dead.
and they turned up missing.
You wake up and you see the top of the head of some kind of a massive giant, and you're being hurtled into the air. Oh,
What is this, Skyrim?
thud.
All right, yeah. Is it did the rain stop overnight, or is it still kind of raining
It's
this
still a
morning?
little drizzly this morning, yeah.
I'll see what I can find in the way of breakfast. Do a
And
little
I'll
bit of hunting.
produce flame so we can cook it.
All
You
right.
just cook it over her open palm.
So, Jacob, go ahead and do that.
I could cast Sacred Flame, but that does radiant damage.
So it's radiantly cooked.
So, laser gun.
You want that rare, medium rare, well done, radiant cooked.
I think my oven does radiate.
Effervescent.
Go ahead and roll your
yeah.
your survival, but roll it at disadvantage because of the current conditions.
Am I in my favorite terrain, which then gives me advantage?
Yeah, so it's a straight up roll.
So,
Oh,
roll
man.
survival.
Roll survival.
Yeah, 29. Oh, actually, no, it's not advantage. It's an additional plus. Oh, dang it. All right, so that would be 22.
Actually, 22. Yes, you could. So I can just roll on that little table.
Yes,
That,
you can use the ability you can always use.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not advantage. It's just additional. I add my wisdom.
No, I
modifier
mean
to
that
it.
you can find food for everybody because you're an Outlander.
Yay!
So either you set a trap or you were just using arrows or a well-aimed rock, but you come back with a couple of rabbits.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
I
Yeah,
love the
so you
idea.
can-
He's just chasing after him with with an arrow. Just covering his
Not the
bow.
bow. I was just like a stick,
Or he's just smacking him with the bow.
and I was successful.
The rabbits are so peaceful until this morning when this lunatic chasing them with an arrow came through.
I leave one of them alive to go tell the story. No.
So you're back at the camp. You got a campfire going. You're cooking this. You're just doing that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
so
camp
we eat
stuff?
Yum.
yeah. So what stuff do you do as you're exploring this structure, or do you do anything
Yeah,
to
so
explore?
certainly. Are there other rooms off of this room? Is it just a kind of a conical tower shape?
Has there been an Etten in here the whole time?
anything we can tell about the walls? Or are there any?
Is the floor here made of floor?
Is there anything
is
carved
there-
into the walls?
Is there a
Anything?
floor plan that we need to follow? An essence of violet?
Well, okay, so no to some things, yes to others, but everybody go ahead and roll either a siegecraft or just a perception.
Do we all get
what-
siegecraft now?
No, well, that's unless you can justify it. when it comes to the structure, how structure is made, what you're gauging from it.
15.
11.
Wait, you viewed that it wasn't siegecraft. What was the other one?
Perception.
Perception.
Oh, 20. Unnatural.
All right. So, yeah, what was it? Unnatural modified. Beyond that, the walls are 15 feet thick and the whole thing's about 100 feet across. You do note the most obvious thing that you've all seen is that there is a central column that is square in footprint, rectangular as it stands, about 6 feet tall.
I never would have noticed that.
It looks as though it's been snapped off. It doesn't look as though that whenever this is a functional tower.
And it's made of stone?
It is. It's about 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet, this central square.
Got broken when the rest of it fell, I assume.
Or, yeah, whatever brought this tower down. It looks as though it's about at the same height as the walls. And as you were looking at it, turning and stepping back, anybody that had a 12 or higher on that DC...
Did you say that just because I rolled an 11?
No, I actually didn't recall that you rolled an 11. But that's pretty good. So whoever rolled one more than what Boris did notices that...
I feel very judged.
It looks as though if some massive giant had a giant sword and cut this tower right off of the mountainside... From the one side to the other, the angle's the same. It isn't like one part of the wall collapsed to a certain amount, leaving a big knife edge of stone that stood, 15 feet high. It looks as though it was fairly, neatly severed. The whole thing all at once.
Is there like a pile of rubble where it would have landed had this happened?
Well, that's what's
like
crazy.
Suspiciously missing.
No, it's wild to think how long this might have happened.
Yeah.
But
Was this a cut and paste error?
There's no rubble around this really at all.
Hit him with the old Control X.
So, okay, so let me make sure I understand. So there's a big conical tower, and in the center...
Well, you're saying, no, it would have been cylinder-like. It's cylindrical. It's not conical. So the walls don't taper in.
Like a canical tower.
It's canon.
Still a cylinder.
All right, so it's a cylinder tower, in the center of which is a rectangle.
Right.
All these squares make a circle.
Is there any opening in the rectangle? Like, is it like was this a lighthouse that people ran up the?
I'll just say this again. So the circular portion of the tower walls that remain are only between like 6 or 8 feet high. And then it's ruined. There's a doorway going into it.
Oh, the actual tower was a square or a rectangular shape?
No. God. It's a big circular tower base.
Yeah.
And in the middle of that, there's a 2 foot by...
just 2
by
foot.
2.5 foot.
Oh, I didn't get the 2 foot.
Oh, the word he used
2.5
was
foot.
pillar before, not tower.
Oh.
In the middle of it.
Oh.
Right.
Huh.
Okay, dear listeners, we're going to take a brief intermission until we get whatever it is in our system out of our system. And then we'll be back.
That's what I love about, the Empire's Edge. We don't drug test our employees. So
All right,
so the pillar, was it just a pillar
Check
that was
out
cut?
Trial by Fireball, where this is on purpose.
Was it the whole entire tower that was cut to match the surrounding wall heights?
It does look that way,
Okay.
as though everything had been
was
severed
sliced off.
all at once.
So can we tell at all why there was a pillar? Was it a floor support, maybe?
All right, so what was your perception as you were...
15.
So as you're looking at
I didn't
it,
even notice.
You're still eating the rabbits, I know.
on the west side of
Oh, fire hut!
wow. On the west side of this, severed, rectangular pillar, square footprint, you can see that they're very weathered, but it looks like there's symbols. You're not positive. There's moss that's grown on it. There's weathering, but it looks like there might be a number of symbols on that side of the tower.
Okay, I'm going to take a minute to try to clean them off to see if I can get an idea to what those symbols are.
Okay, so as you're like scraping that stuff off, maybe using some water and taking that off, you realize that there are dozens of symbols, and the more you look at them, they look more and more like little pictograms. Like each one represents something, and some of them seem just what you think it is. Like this looks like it's rain. And then the actual way things are carved, a different one looks like it's clouds and rain under it, like it's a storm. There's one
Can I
that's
get
a river.
an idea if it's just like Kilroy was here kind of stuff? Is it graffiti or is it?
It looks very regimented in how it's been carved into this.
Are these memes? Are these ancient memes?
Do they look arcane in nature or really just kind of mundane? Just
roll that as an investigation. As you're bringing other information.
I'm going to roll a history just to be different.
How about a 8?
Yeah, 8.
4, take it or leave it.
They could be. I'll leave it. It could. They could mean anything whatsoever. But you do note, as the more you're cleaning this, Zelen, that on one side of it, partially, part of it's missing, but you do see what looks like is a circle that had what would look like cardinal directions, but then also the symbols that represent those various cardinal directions.
Huh.
So it's some kind of. Well, actually, I'm not paying attention, so I can't make this realization.
So yeah, how much are you relating what's...
Oh yeah, I'm definitely talking to
So it's some kind
everybody.
of esoteric compass.
And I'm also going to point out to Boris how it looked like the top was sliced off, because maybe if I'm pointing out to him something, he can look at it more carefully and get his mind off the rabbit stew.
Ah, yes. My +2 Arcana will determine what's going on.
You have a +2 also?
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the club.
3, take it or leave it.
God.
I'll leave it.
All right.
Those are
so
some good
I'm
rabbits.
going to
What'd you
use
put in them?
Arcana
Meth?
and see if
It's
I
a
can
new
do
monster,
anything.
meth rabbits.
right.
No, that's just that rabbit from that movie.
I got a 14 on Arcana.
I got that reference.
Thank you.
It looks like the way these stones, and some have come loose just through weathering and time, but it looks like the lead edge of these stones, particularly on the western side, it looks like there's like melting to the stone itself.
Wow. So something big happened here.
Now, again, the stones are still very weathered, like they've experienced a lot of time, weathering and
Right.
exposure, but whatever took this tower down did something that was so hot or so powerful that there's still evidence of like melting to the very stone that's still in place.
Is there anything else like of particular import in this room, like just furniture or doorways?
No, it does. It just there's actually a doorway on either side of it. One that's facing back the way along the ridge you came to the west, and then forward going further to the east. So,
Do you still have any of your of the magic blessing stuff? Because when we touched things with it before, the letters, we'd be able to read the letters
I can definitely tap my hammer on stuff and see what it
gently,
does.
please.
Just bring down the center column.
Yeah.
I have magically divine that is not that strong.
Yeah, I whack it in like a giant piton to crack into whatever caverns below us.
it all shatters and drops.
Rocks fall, everyone dies.
Right.
New podcast.
Literally. Does it? Nothing special happens
Yeah,
when he
I'll-
touches it with blessed steel?
No, it doesn't look as though there's any
Tap the hammer of Uko on things.
that there was any connection
while I've
to
got it-
religion in
Yeah,
this.
while I've got it in hand, though, we're all temporarily resistant to magic, so good for us.
There we
Yay.
go.
Now there are just dozens and dozens of these symbols that look like they're older than the stuff you've seen that has been Kremlin.
Huh. Jacob, do you have the ability to take a rubbing so that we could take these symbols with us? Because we might be able to encounter somebody who could decode them at some point.
I have the materials just to probably even maybe
Yeah,
not doing a specific rubbing,
Paper
just,
and charcoal.
like tracing them or just writing a copy
Yeah,
of them
you
down.
could
Yeah.
either one, either just pushing the paper against
say
it and
let's,
shading
let's
with
do
charcoal,
that. Have
or
them with
drawing them
us
out.
and move on.
All right, so
do
this
that.
this could take a few hours, but there's
Oh, God.
beyond these symbols
There's
for
a bunch of them.
beyond the symbols for the cardinal directions. There's a number of symbols that would give you rudimentary idea of at least root words in whatever
Oh.
language this was.
So are you getting any, as you're kind of focused on it, are you getting any
they're
translation? Like, are you
hieroglyphs?
getting any?
Spending a couple hours learning a new language with nothing but
Right.
the Rosetta Stone.
Well, it
Why
does.
didn't you wait this until one level from now when I have Eyes of the Runekeeper and can read all writing?
Well, that could be good then. One level from now, we'll read this piece of paper.
Yeah, we'll wander back.
Well, there are some things, Jacob, that you think would be, well, this looks like a chariot, so it could be chariot, but it could be like travel, it could be a war party, who knows. One is most
so they serve
definitely
a religious significance.
one is definitely a very throne looking,
joke.
a chair on a dais, a temple of some sort, but then also things like sun and wind and sky, various animals. So, rudimentary, single word language things.
Okay. I share that with them. Any-
Do a different kind of survival. Just make another survival roll, Jacob.
okay. Are we still in the forest technically?
Technically, yeah, you've come down below the tree line again.
21.
That as you're just imagining, with the circumference of this tower, about how tall it might be, and then you've seen some examples of tall towers from a more ancient time, particularly Azongo's tower. But you look back the ridgeway, and you can imagine that if this tower were standing, and the one where you guys battled the Ettins were standing, you think they'd be in visual range to each other.
Oh. Okay.
So I wonder if this is some kind of tracking of what they saw, some kind of like recording.
I'm wondering like a Great Wall of China kind of thing, where each one like they'll light like a fire or
Right.
use it as
Like
what's the word? Just signaling towers. Is there
just
a strong enough tree,
As
tall enough
guard
tree nearby
towers.
that I might be able to climb up and get a good view over the majority of the nearby treetops?
You saying is there a tree nearby you could do that?
Yeah, strong enough, tall enough tree. That
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure
I might be able
Zelen
to-
can make one.
Go ahead
I
and
can.
roll that
You wanna
as
do that?
do a survival check.
Natural 20.
Yes, we'll say yes. There is Like,
34.
just adjacent. Yeah, just adjacent to where you are, there is a very very large cedar.
Okay, cool. I will hike up that thing. Hike up.
Hike
Climb
up.
up. Just
I like it.
be honest, walk up.
Hold on, let me cast spider climb, and then you can.
Tree form. You can use an action to plant one end of the staff in fertile earth, and
Oh, this is the
actually
actual
yeah,
one charge to
staff, yeah.
transform the staff into a healthy tree.
There you go.
It is 60 feet tall and has a 5-foot diameter trunk.
So if you're just holding onto the top, like if Jape were holding onto that, and Zelen initiates that,
He
would
would
he
be
be like
immediately killed by all the branches growing out of it.
I thought maybe he like launched into the air.
Yeah,
with
no,
it.
they do that with bamboo to torture people.
Okay.
Ah.
Just a thought.
I call from the top of the tree.
I'm
Please
the
don't.
happy paladin.
All right, yeah. So I'll climb up that way, kind of taking the trajectory of like where the first tower we came across, where this one is, and just looking in that direction to see if I get any hint as far as what might be out that way.
So looking behind you, back in that direction, you can see glimpses of that roadway that you crossed where there was a very steep and must have been a very eroded area where that section of road went through. You guys had the scary time crossing from one section to the next. And then beyond that, rising further up, you can see the ridge where that tower would have been. And then the ground falls away pretty precipitously to the foothills that are around it.
Okay, but no hint of the next tower in the line.
Oh, in the opposite direction, the ground falls away very, very steeply.
I got you.
That you would believe if the city were actually still there, you'd be able to see it from right here. If Sarn-Tar-Azul was actually still there, you'd be able to see it from right here. It's days away. You'd
Gotcha.
still be able to
I
see
wonder
it.
if there's any way this is like an outer protective wall to Sarn-Tar-Azul.
This is 285.
Right.
Well, it was
Atlanta
before
reference, yeah.
it got cracked apart.
It's the perimeter.
It is 285.
It's a beltway.
There was just a collapse in Cobb County on 285 the other day.
Yeah.
All right.
Topical jokes.
All right, so let's I'll climb back down and share what I saw up there. And I mean, we were already kind of heading in that direction,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
unless there's anything else in this immediate area that catches our eye, I think we start moving.
I can start casting spells at things. It's not going to do stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Then let's go.
So you break camp and you guys get going. And you travel for a day easily. Let me just roll.
Hey, another long rest.
And we travel
yeah.
easily.
Yeah. So you're following a trail-like stretch, Jacob, that is not the actual road surface of which you were on before, but you could imagine this might have been where the road was because nothing's grown up through it at this point. So maybe, landslides and erosion has just covered the actual road bed to where you can't see into the artifact of the thing. But the way it's so clear, it makes sense that that's where you are right now.
All right.
And as you're heading further down, so later, we'll go another whole day. It's the next morning, you're traveling still, that you encounter an area of switchbacks. It was descending fairly steeply. And then you reached an area where, well, go ahead and roll that, roll a perception or a siegecraft.
All right.
Hey, nice. I didn't get drugged rabbit, so I can actually notice things
Oh,
again.
yeah, perception's another one of my good ones.
Okay, let's hear-
27.
Okay, yeah, that's really good. Jacob?
28.
Yeah, very nice.
9.
Man, okay, so Zelen is looking at all the pretty birds in the trees. That as you're
Sorry. For wisdom-based skills, I get an additional +4, and I rolled a natural 14.
all right, you guys okay?
Yeah, no. I just had to Zelen him, I guess.
Well,
Yeah, right.
both of you are very aware that the grade is a very comfortable grade, like a 5% grade.
Okay.
That if you were taking a cart full of, cabbages or salt up this road from the other direction, it wouldn't be too burdensome to animals. That's a very controlled grade. It just doesn't happen in nature typically. So even though you're not on a road surface, it feels that way. But then right about the same time you're making this realization, you can see that whatever erosion has covered this road has been washed away up ahead. And again, you can see a long stretch of this road just angling down the side of this ridge that is completely exposed.
Okay.
Wow, that's interesting. Is there anything, if we study that section of the road, is there anything interesting about it? Are the stones local stones? Do any of the stones look like they maybe have been imported?
There's a lot of stone you would think is local stone versus some of the more exotic stones that were down in the valley from before. But for those of you that made that roll from a minute ago, you notice you're crossing it. So both Jacob and Boris, that you get to a certain point and you see what looks like holes that were made into this, about a foot apart from each other, perpendicular to the line of the road itself.
Are they still empty?
No, they're completely filled with little bits of aggregate and dirt and whatnot.
Okay.
But
so
you
we're
can
just
tell,
seeing them as divots or discolorations.
Yeah, exactly.
in
It's
this
the
road.
top of it. Yeah, and it is. It's a different color because of, it's filled up with
Because
dirt
it's
or
dirt,
whatever,
not road.
and not the stone. But they go from one side of the road, and on the left-hand side, there is a very precipitous cliff off to that side. About every foot, there's another one of these holes that have been made. Who knows how deep they are unless you do something to get the packed aggregate out of it. And it goes right to the opposite side, which goes into, the hillside that's up on your right-hand side, just the whole way across the road. Like somebody made a point to drill holes across this.
Maybe some type of medieval rebar, like they were trying to reinforce the road from the cliff, possibly.
Yeah,
or
that's
Maybe.
I was going in a different direction.
they try to sabotage it, so if we step on it, we fall.
Sabotage, yes. I don't know about us so specifically or falling
yeah.
now, seeing as this road's been here for, several centuries?
At least centuries.
That when we were going through the pass, the breaks, the gravel pit bits and the sturdy bits were fairly consistent. So I wonder if this is more of that it's trapped as a protective thing.
Oh.
Like a protective thing, you think?
Well,
Like
that
they could...
Sarn-Tar-Azul doesn't want people crawling in their back door.
Interesting.
Who does?
And so these holes are here. So something happened that they couldn't finish the job that they started.
Or they didn't need to.
Oh, they didn't need to.
They destroyed the pass, nothing got through, or, it was actually dragons and they all just flew over it and roads don't matter anymore.
Right.
But either way, it wasn't necessary to complete the prepared sabotage.
Okay.
So do you guys proceed on the road as is?
Yeah.
We'll keeping an eye out for a ye olde stick of dynamite that they'd plug the hole with.
Okay, well, with you keeping an eye out, and we'll keep those same rolls from before.
Oh, no, my roll sucked.
Well, unless anyone has a reason why the roll would be different.
Because I've been pointing stuff out to her.
All right, that's reasonable.
There we go.
So if you guys want to make a re-roll, that's fine. So
I do not. I like my roll.
For the two of you that have very, very
Instead
high
of a
rolls.
1, I rolled a 2.
27 now.
You had the drugged rabbit.
So Zelen is still looking off to the left-hand side at the pretty view that's just looking at mountains and hills in the distance. But the two of you are pretty sure, actually you feel very sure, that this section of road is still sturdy.
Okay.
That whatever the hole drilling has done, it wasn't enough to weaken the structure of the road.
Yeah, it was
so it is
step
still
one of sabotaging process.
Yeah, it is still most definitely a sturdy road to cross on.
All right.
Now, as you proceed forward in 60 feet, you can't help but notice it with those high rolls. You do see another line of those same kinds of holes.
Wow. I wonder if it was protective and so these were like prepped.
Well,
They did it in advance and then...
I think this is the other end of the ones we saw previously.
Oh.
That this is the section that get removed.
Oh, I see.
That
Okay.
in another 60 feet we'll find the start of the next section.
Well, back when that section you guys had such a difficult time crossing, there were 60-foot gaps and about 40-foot stretches of
Solid road.
intact solid road.
Okay.
And as you proceed forward, you do reach another section. So after that about 60 feet where that second line of holes were, you cross about 40, and then there's another line of holes.
Huh.
Yeah.
So as you're proceeding, you note that it is still very strong. That you could drill probably just dozens and dozens of holes through this road, and it's not going to loosen it from the bed that it's sitting on.
And there's just a cliff on one side, right? The other
That's
side
correct.
is in.
Yeah, it'd be a
so-
great place to
yeah.
tumble things down if that's
Right.
So what Boris had said seems pretty reasonable, that whatever the next step is, or a couple steps down the way, never happened. As you proceed, and again, since you guys will be pointing it out, I'm sure to Zelen, that this pattern repeats itself 3 more times. These 60-foot stretches and 40-foot stretches, and then you get past where this drop-off to the left is, the cliff to the left-hand side, and then the, call it pre-sabotage to the bridge, stops, but the road continues.
Prepared defense.
Yeah, it does seem that way. This whole section was prepared just like that. Now, up ahead, and just almost immediately past where that stretches, it does the curve and the switchback to go down to the level below, and it drops really steeply. And and again, the 2 rolls you guys made, it's easily a 15% grade, which would be difficult to walk up and down at any point, but it would make a natural defensive point because anybody coming up right there would have a difficult time. And honestly, anybody coming down with heavy equipment, siege craft, siege stuff, that'd be tough to slow it down. So either up or down, that'd be a tough spot.
Huh.
So you're proceeding down through that
That's
curve.
interesting. So this isn't really the merchant road then, maybe, because they made it really hard then for people who are bringing goods in.
It'd be really tough in the curve.
Yeah. It's just a defensive thing. You could bring them in either way, but this seems more an avenue for a potential retreat.
So as you go through that switchback, it's again curving to the left very, very steeply, going down. Roll new siegecrafts or perceptions.
Oh. I think we got the same roll.
19.
And you guys?
15.
10.
Oh.
Nine.
All right. So the 15 and the 19, that as you're moving forward, you see that there are areas of the road that look as though they've been melted.
Melted,
Big
which is the
sections of
same
it.
as the tower. So can I just take a minute and examine that and see if I can tell anything else about it?
Can I get the drugged rabbit out of my system?
And so we said something about the tower too. Like it looked, you said the word hot at some point. Like,
Well, and inside he said that it looked melted.
Okay.
Yeah,
the stones just didn't look as though somebody battered it till they fell down in the tower. It looked like something very hot had passed through it and actually melted the stone off.
And
So
does this
is
look
the-
similar?
Yeah, and is the mountain behind it? I'm picturing this path being kind of built with a mountain on one side and then a cliff on the other. Does it look that way on either side, or is it specific to just the road?
It looks really specific to just to the road.
Wow.
Because also in the edge of that switchback, there's a moment where there's really not much on either side. And then as the switchback continues, then on the opposite side, now the left-hand side has, the steep embankment on the left, and the right-hand side is more cliff-like going down over the edge. And that's about the point where you are. All along the steeper part of the grade in that turn, it looks like different areas are blasted that way. Now, you said you were pointing that out. Are you pointing that out to other people too,
Sure,
where the meltings are?
Yeah.
All right, so as you examine the individual melted spots, make those rolls again.
Okay.
Siegecraft, perception.
Yeah, there we go.
21. Oh,
28.
Nice.
23.
That's
All
the
right, so-
highest I can do.
The stone itself, Jacob, looks as though that individual, like there's like large areas of like limestone that were set in place, and whatever kind of a cement they use, it's difficult to say because it looks like stones are laid seamlessly, but you can see that stones have melted together. And as you're looking, you actually see what looks like if a person were to go through mud, then that mud were to dry, there's a certain pattern to footsteps through it. You see that pattern in the stone. As though somebody was coming up.
So somebody was coming up and was that hot, or somebody was moving through and got hit?
Yeah, so Zelm, what was your roll?
25, I think, or 23.
Is the more you're looking at it, you can see that there are some melted looking areas that look like the stone would have been in a liquid form, like a little pool. And then in some places, kind of like a glazing or like a glancing, shot of whatever this was that had a whole area, like skipping a stone across water. You'll see these patterns where something went like skipping across the road versus other ones that just concentrated in a spot. Boris, what did you roll?
28.
Okay, at 28, it looks like the actual splash pattern of how some of this stuff has been melted. That by the angle of it, you're imagining if you were to cast some kind of a whatever could do this as a spell or out of a focus, a device of some sort, it would have had to have being shot or cast by beings that were on the upper ground, the high ground, the area you just came from, to people down at the lower ground.
Or
so
in
this
the
definitely
air.
was an assault, yeah.
So can you think of anything, Boris, that could melt stone? I mean,
I can think
melt
of
stone
lots of
this
things.
way, not melt stone. The stone isn't gone. It's like the surface level of the stone is melted.
Yeah, powerful magic is the easiest one. So my money's on dragons, might be fiends of some description, big elementals, a wizard with a penchant for pyromancy.
Was there any of those symbols that you drew? Any of them look like dragons? Or
Yeah,
Yeah.
there certainly was.
Oh,
Yeah, there
okay.
was one that was a dragon symbol.
Okay.
And Jacob, with the roll you had made, is they're looking very specifically, Zelena's looking at one of these ones that's like, a pool, and you notice that track's going through it. What was your last survival? Or did you roll survival? You didn't roll a survival lately.
I didn't.
Go ahead and roll a survival roll.
Ooh, yeah.
What'd you roll naturally? 19. Nice.
Natural 19. High numbers, 30-something.
Yeah. When you're examining it more closely, you can actually see the form of the boot a person would have been wearing, however long ago that was, to where you can tell that leather was probably stuck to the inside of this for a long time and then eventually just rotted away. But you can actually see where the sole and the heel meets the upper part of a boot, and the imprint of those details are still in the stone on this particular spot.
Wow.
Bad way to go.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
You can almost imagine that for maybe a dozen, 20 years, that there was a nasty pair of butts of feet and boots sticking up out of the stone right here.
Weird. Okay, so it does seem like someone was standing here and got caught in some
Right,
way.
yeah, like they were trying to fight or run or something.
With how quickly it happened, it has to have happened for this thing. I'm thinking dragons now too, because if they got hit by dragon fire and everything around them melted and their feet sunk into this liquid rock, what's that fast? And it's probably the breath weapon of a dragon.
And with those rolls you're making, Jacob, you would figure this had to have happened centuries ago. That there's the weathering on the stone that's even melted, particularly at the corners of the road where it's exposed, that there are hundreds of years of weathering on that stone, even though you can still see some of this melted feature, like kind of through the weathering.
Okay, yeah. And I share everything that I'm seeing with the party, unless anything makes us stop. I mean, we're so close now, we're not going to turn around because of some centuries-old dragon artwork.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we should
Is there a
keep going.
dragon within 6 miles? Guy what knows that stuff?
I could use a spell slot to do that. Yeah, sure.
Hey, good thinking, Boris.
I do that occasionally when I'm
yeah.
not consuming drugged rabbit.
I use one of my spell slots to do primeval awareness and figure out if I'm within 6 miles of a dragon apparition, other things.
What are the other things?
Yeah, let me look that up real fast.
Because it won't, if there are, then it won't tell you what it is, just that it's there.
I don't remember it being that unbelievably horrible, but
It wasn't great.
It was fairly non-specific. So
yeah,
we're looking.
we are looking things up right now. There we go.
Finding that
As an
stuff.
action, you expend one spell slot to say if there are any aberrations, celestials, dragons, elementals, fays, fiends, or undead present within 1 mile of you, or within 6 miles. Oh, within up to 6 miles if you're in your favorite terrain. Okay, so I can actually set the location.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't reveal the creature's location or number, but
Yeah.
I guess I can.
Yes, no.
If there's a ping or not.
Yeah, I don't know if I get to choose one thing I'm listening for, or if I'm aware of all.
You want to
those
read it
things.
again, just so we can...
As an action, you spend a spell slot to sense whether there are any aberrations or undead. Okay, that would make me think that it was I choose one, and I think about that one thing nearby.
I've got
Okay.
an and right up, but I like yours better.
Yeah, no. So I'm going to think if there's any dragons within. What do you guys think? 4 miles? 3 miles?
Why not do the full 6 miles?
I guess. I mean, we could. I just don't know if that would.
How many spell slots do you have?
Lots.
Yeah, we could go 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile, 4 mile, 5 mile, 6 mile.
Do that. Yeah.
So which one are you doing first?
Let's start with within 1 mile because that would give us the most inherent imminent danger.
That'd be, yeah.
There is.
Son of a. All right, now 2.
Still yes.
Okay.
Well, it saves you some spell slots.
There's a
Dude.
dragon within a mile?
So in some direction. Yep. Now you have something that you're able to cast that is actually more better than my thing.
More
right?
better?
More better.
More better.
Many, much, most better.
Betterer.
It's even gooder, too.
She's got betterer spells than I
I wonder
do.
what I have.
I thought you had some like locate beasts or something like that. Because
I might not have it
realized
prepped.
The naming scheme for spells in 5e are just so on the nose.
I cast my second level spell to let me know if I have any spell slots available. And you have the essence of one you've just
No
lost.
longer.
I can talk to plants. I can ask the plants if they've seen a dragon.
I mean,
if you want to go talk to a tree.
you want to do
Are
that?
you saying you're casting it?
No, I'm still thinking. I'm
Okay.
looking to see what else I can do.
That is.
Oh, here we go. Locate animals or plants.
Yeah, there you go. Do you have it prepped?
Yeah.
Oh.
Does it have to have the animal descriptor?
Describe or name a specific kind of beast or plant, concentrating on the voice of nature in your surroundings.
Beast is a creature type.
Is
Yeah.
a dragon a beast?
A dragon is a dragon.
Dang it!
Yeah, it's got to be a dragon.
So technically, no.
I spend a half level spell
So
slot
it
to
would
do
literally have
locate
to
dragon.
say, describe or name a specific kind of dragon?
Yeah.
So it's not a
A dragon's a
creature.
creature type.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like beast is a creature type, referring to animals.
Because there's like so many different types of dragons. Dragon is its own type.
Oh, jeez.
Well, and because they have properties inherent to their being as dragons.
Okay. Well, we know there's one within a mile.
I know
which-
genetics are dumb in this game, but I have to do what I can with them.
But there you are.
All right, how close do we want to stay to the road now? Because I'm imagining where the road is cleared out, there's probably clear shot to the sky for most part. Do we want to change over to using tree cover and moving through that way?
We'll just keep your last survival. Go ahead and roll. Just tell me that number again.
That was a 30.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you rolled a natural 19.
Yeah.
It was 15. And Zelen, go ahead and do a nature roll.
Ooh.
Natural 18.
That's a 22.
Yeah, so the two of you conferring for just a moment about, there's potentially a dragon, or there is a dragon.
There
within
is a
mile.
dragon.
Confirmed.
But as you're thinking about, even though you've not seen one of these things, the real full deal dragon, you can imagine what it would do to a particular environment. Within 1 mile of where you are, predators would act a certain way. The creatures would act a certain way. The different areas would be affected in a certain way.
They literally have regional effects that are magical in nature.
And you're not
Thanks, 5th edition.
You're not picking up on any of those telltale signs in the environment that's around you.
Is it your dragon? Because didn't you have a dragon that you melded with?
My dragon's dead.
Okay, so we're not.
Yeah, it would not
Well,
So
be.
we
and
wouldn't-
more importantly, my dragon was a dragon, then it ascended into a celestial nature and became Izongo.
Okay,
So he's also not nearby.
Okay, so do we want to see if there's any celestials nearby?
Are dragons magic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Because I could detect magic.
Well, yeah, that's a much
Within-
shorter range, though.
Yeah.
30 feet.
I know. It would be pretty
If it's
close.
within 30 feet, I think we'd know.
It'd be
I
pretty
hope that
close.
DC perception is pretty low.
Yeah, we're made of food and treasure. If it's within 30 feet, we have bigger things to worry
the
about.
road turns into a dragon.
Oh.
Oh, man. That'd be awesome if we could ride it.
It's actually not the road.
All right,
it's
well,
the mountainside
could-
the road's on.
Oh, God.
I can also talk to animals if we want to ask the animals if they've seen dragons.
I mean, that's what you're saying.
If
Like,
you see an animal, yeah.
you said the predators would be acting weird. Are they acting weird, or are there animals like nearby that
Well, that
we
was
could
the
track
point.
one
There's been
down?
nothing that would say that things aren't acting as though there is a peak predator.
Oh.
Across all things, that there's nothing to
Might
indicate
be,
this
like,
piece of the Brimroar is
Another one of those
different than
young
others.
greens.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's
Where do dragons live? Don't they always live in caves?
Anywhere.
well, one
Depends
of
on
them
the
lives
type.
by the sea.
swamps.
Oh.
It just whatever their
It-
nature is.
Yeah, it depends on their interests and the type of dragon.
Yeah.
Like
could-
red dragons like volcanoes. White dragons, which like cold, do not like volcanoes.
We could be, it could just be a baby dragon.
Yeah.
Maybe we could tame it and make it our friend.
Giant
they are
flying lizards.
sentient. They are sentient, so tame is kind of a funny word to use.
Calm,
Maybe we could
befriend.
Yeah, there
bribe it.
Yeah, I mean, if we find it, we are confident that we're able to take a young dragon because we've already fought 2,
Right.
right?
we go.
3.
Yeah, you're pretty sure you could.
Yeah,
So
so
if it was an older dragon, maybe a little less so. But you guys are pretty
Slightly
stompy.
more
You
boned.
guys.
Well,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it would be kind of ironic
You hit
since
stuff
Boris
pretty hard.
added Dragon Slayer into his list of titles. So.
yeah, so let's
It is
Are-
literally correct. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
So are you continuing on? Or are you
Yeah,
staying
ar-
this point
armed with
on?
our newfound
but
confidence,
Let's,
yeah.
Well, but let's also arm
Heads
ourselves
on
with
swivel.
exactly newfound caution.
I've got my Eldritch Blast for a reason because
yeah.
crossbows take time to reload.
And what is
Yeah.
the range on that? 120?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. So as you proceed for the rest of this day, the switchbacks are a little steeper, and then they get shallower and broader. So there's more depth between each switchback as you're heading further down off of this ridge, to where about the time you get to like the surrounding foothills, it's the end of the day and you're setting camp again.
okay.
So we'll just
We don't
do-
forget to set watches this time.
Good. I just rolled it already, and there was no overnight encounter, so we can just move on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on a third day, you're still just coming down through, call it some of these higher elevations of the Brimroar. You feel a lot better, Jacob, that this is your terrain, even though that was up there, the mountainous end of your terrain. Those particular ridge tops are more like some of the Rejek, Hegyek mountains that are running as you proceed into the valley of Sarn-Tar-Azul, both to your northeast and southwest, that they run right up when you get to the desert.
I mean, I started with just forest, but because of how much we spent at this outside, I did take mountain just in general
yeah,
as
that was
my other
really
one. So.
smart. So you're in a very comfortable territory for you, and you travel easily for about another day. And
Excellent.
at the end of that day, you really are getting down to the valley floor itself. So let me just do another encounter roll. And no, you're all clear.
So while we're above the valley, can we look down into the valley and see anything? Do we see any smoke fires? Smoke fires? Do we see any smoke from fires anywhere?
Cook
Do
fires,
we see any activity?
So to
Do we
retroplay that from like when you guys were on the road and you were looking off in
Yeah.
the distance, down in the direction that would be the Bugbear Valley, you do see periodic fires that are there. And you would think to see even a ribbon of smoke from one of those. They must be big, like pretty
Right.
big bonfires. But smaller cook fires, you probably wouldn't even note if they were keeping it a pretty, maintaining the fire. So it's not giving off a lot of smoke.
And
But not much out in front of you and definitely not toward the west.
And what was it about
Yeah, that's all, folks.
Not yet. We
was it
still have like
about-
20 minutes to go.
what was it about the valley itself that reminded us, or at least me, that it was the valley of Sarn-Tar-Azul? Was there something geographically like?
Well, it's fitting the map that's in your head.
Okay.
Because you guys came from the tunnel into the Bugbear Valley, up over that cleft notch, and then came down into the valley of Sarn-Tar-Azul from that angle.
Okay.
Then traveled for some days to get to actual ruins of the city. And at first you didn't know it, if you recall, that you got to, you found the edge of the city, and that's where Violet was, and the burrow and all that.
But aside from the towers and the like broken down walls we've seen, we actually haven't laid eyes on this city again just yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
No. Well, but you know it's out there. When you look
Yeah.
down from the elevations you're coming down from, you know, and you could point, it's right out there somewhere, but it's indistinguishable from just the rest of the valley floor
Okay.
from that height.
Because it's so like deteriorated,
Right. Yeah, and it just looks like you're very
Overgrown.
jungly down there.
crenellated.
Yeah. So
No, that came later.
Yeah.
on the next day.
Wow. that was a good joke. That was a good canon joke. That was nice.
As you proceed forward, Jacob, you're going to have to roll a survival to find your best route that takes you in the general direction of where you believe Sarn-Tar-Azul to be. And you're really just sort of striking, kind of flat heading through the terrain, because the road, as it comes out of the out of these hills, disappears. It's as though it's been subducted, or there's so much erosion that's been deposited over it that there's not even a sign to the side of the road.
How's that? 26.
That's excellent. So you feel you have a pretty good bead heading, that away, and it's taking you in the general direction of what you believe to be the main section of the city of Sarn-Tar-Azul.
When we keep on keeping on.
And as you proceed forward, late in the morning, you come right into an area, Jacob, where you pick up on lizard tracks.
Oh boy. All right, so I'll stop the party.
And you see also there's signs that that bugbears have been here too.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
That's no fun. All right, so I pointed out quietly, not
So-
knowing how far away they could be. Take a quick perception to make sure I don't hear anything.
Go ahead and
Seconded.
do the rolls.
Yeah. Thirded.
Ooh.
Ah.
It sounds good. Who's going to whoop each other on this one?
I know I won.
Yeah, no, definitely.
What, you rolled a net?
No, I know how good my plus
Well,
is.
go ahead, Jacob.
31.
Okay,
Wow.
very nice. Yeah.
24.
Yeah. Natural 20 for 22.
It's like I rolled my maximum. It was the lowest number, but great numbers all around. Here's the things you pick up on with that as you're looking in this area. So I picture you guys, not getting too far from each other, but sort of spreading out into an area that looks as though it's had a fairly a substantial camp in it for a period of time. But then as you're picking up on some subtleties of tracks of the individual lizards, you're picking up that there are about a half dozen lizards, Jacob, that you're picking up actually on the claw patterns. That you're seeing very particular patterns to claws, the same way you could tell one set of hooves from another set of hooves if you're tracking somebody on horses. There's telltale signs. And you're picking up with the lizards, there's about a half dozen of them, and you would say probably about 4 bugbears that were in a camp in this area for days at least, maybe even weeks.
I guess,
Does
is there a
it-
way that I could
Weird.
apply the same kind of, if I was looking at the tracks of a horse versus the tracks of a horse that has a rider, would I be able to distinguish
Oh.
any difference
Oh, yeah.
from the
Yeah,
lizard tracks to know if there's more bugbears because they were actually riding on the lizards?
Yeah, the very same way that, the weight and the depth of the track, you can tell that sometimes in a certain area, it's almost like a little, not really a paddock area, but where they're keeping them, in quotes, stabled, that there's a certain weight and depth of the track. And then obviously when they're riding, there's a much deeper track, a little more of a furrow where they're really digging in to push. So you can always tell by the track every time that when someone's mounted.
All right, so I share that these are the exact same kind of bugbears we dealt with before we left Shepton.
Can we see
Interesting.
if it looks like they decided to move on, or was there a fight here that moved them on?
Well, as you're circling in that area and spreading out a little bit, because you can imagine a half dozen lizards and 4 bugbears, it wouldn't be like a little campsite that's like the size of somebody's dining room with like
Right.
a tent and a campfire. That'd be an area like kind of over an acre that they were
Yeah.
bedding down into and living in. But you do find spots where there's definitely cook fires at different spots. And as you get to the edge of that area, heading a little more to the east of where that initial encampment was, you do see signs that there was a skirmish of some sort. That the way the ground is torn up, claws are torn up. You can't tell blood sign exactly, but just and again, your roll was so high, David. I keep narrating this instead of having you guys roll stuff.
Yeah.
That it looks like this was just a few days ago.
Oh.
Whatever this skirmish, this fight was. But you do get sign of blood on various trees. Where a thing brushed up against something else and had already been wounded. Damage was done here and there. And then as you're looking through to see, a bunch of lizards came up and you're pointing, in that direction, like past that grove of trees, and they were right here where we're standing, fighting with each other. Just to the south of that area, Boris, you picked up on what looks like little mounds of dirt, from this distance, like the tops of graves.
Is there like a marker to them? Like,
as you get over there,
moving over there to examine them?
Yeah, so marker might be, communicating just the wrong idea or information. You couldn't see it from a little bit of a distance. It just looked like a piece of a tree, but it does look like one of these graves, and slightly apart from the other 4, does have like a log driven into the ground at the one end of it, but it's not a marker in the sense of what you would think of being a marker.
And there's 5 total?
By marker, I meant a thing where one would put a headstone, not a literal headstone.
Yeah. Well, yes, then it does fit that description.
Okay. Yeah.
It is set at the end of one of these graves. But you're right, Zone. There's 5 graves. 4 of them do not have a marker of any sort.
Right.
But this one does.
I'm going to examine that marker.
All right, yes.
And
so-
how many bugbears did we determine had been here? I thought we determined there had been
I think
5.
I got the number 4 or maybe 5, but did I think that maybe there could be more if some of them were riding the lizards, or did I think that I kind of got the numbers?
It really seemed like there was a group of 4 of them that were in here, and about 6 of the lizards.
Okay.
So perception for looking at that?
You can roll that, but you'll see something on it definitely. But go ahead and roll the roll just so you know what if anything else comes
16.
up. Yeah. So
then also kind of before we get into that, would it be like a religion or a history to try and like gauge bugbear funerary rites? Like, because this seems anomalous to me, but I don't know if it actually is.
yeah, I would think probably not history, probably a religion from what you've picked up on
I like
from their
that a lot
culture
better.
already. So go ahead and roll.
15 for an unnatural 20.
So then both of these perceptions at the same time. One, that there is something on the marker itself. It just looked as though somebody had an axe and just made kind of a cleaned off spot on it. So it was like flat. And what looks like somebody just got a regular knife, but you're picking up on some of the subtleties of what would gouge that.
Right.
And you think it's a stone knife,
Okay.
like a stone weapon. And it looks like a tree has been carved into this marker.
Huh.
Then with your religion check, you know from the brief interaction of those people that a tree is in no way one of their like religious-y symbols.
Right, yeah.
And you don't believe that they even bury their dead, typically. You think that they actually put them up on some kind of a little platform and let them rot and things pick at them.
Okay.
So this seems
Very
very
anomalous.
unusual.
very outside of there. And then the other 4 aren't marked at all.
I was expecting a feather, but not a tree.
Oh, are there feathers
Well-
nearby?
There are not.
Okay.
Yeah. A tree would make more sense for back in my
I was
homeland.
going to say, yeah.
Right.
Which makes me wonder, is this an offshoot of that one I spared and tried to get to become a paladin?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that'd be a bummer if he died.
All right,
No.
so-
What
If
else-
he's
what
the
else-
one
Well,
that's
there
dead,
was-
someone still buried him, though.
Well,
Yeah,
that's true.
there was-
That's true.
And
Someone's still living.
buried him with this intention.
He just buried himself.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Would buried him with respect of
Yeah.
potentially.
Which implies that there's more of a similar mindset, because it wasn't he was buried and they left a marker that was significant on his person. It was that they're buried at all, because that's
Yeah.
anomalous for the bugbears, full
Yeah.
stop.
Right.
And so there was a skirmish here, benefit, more good thing.
And
They won.
Paladin bunch won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they buried their. Okay.
Yeah, that's. I like this theory. What else?
Looking for tracks from this area. Are the numbers still the same? Like leaving this area? Maybe
Did they go in two different directions?
Yeah, so let's look at both of those ideas. So it probably takes you the better part of the next hour, really, because you're now circling outside of this skirmish and camp area. But here's what you come back with, and again, just taking your rolls from before, Jacob, that there are 3 sets. Right, take this back. There's 2 different sets of tracks that are going out of this general skirmish area. There is a line of tracks of just 2 overlapping lizards. So they're single file, 2 lizards, and they're heading off to the southeast, really the east-southeast, toward the Bugbear Valley.
Okay.
Now, you can also determine that both of these lizards had riders.
Okay.
But there's no additional lizard, there's no additional bugbear afoot.
Can we tell how fast they were going? Like, were they fleeing? Is there any way to tell that from the tracks?
Yeah, so Jacob, and I guess that'd be Zelen too with the roll you made.
I'm there too.
That it does look that the spread in the leg and the pattern of overlap from the back leg covering part of the front leg's track, that they're moving at a pretty good pace.
Okay. So,
Now,
not a triumphant gallop away. This is more of a getting out of
Potentially,
dodge.
Yeah, retreat.
Now, on the other side of the camp, moving really due west into part of the Brimroar you guys haven't been in, but ultimately, if you went days and days and days to the west, eventually you get to Carn Keldley. But there's a lot of the Brimroar just in between right there. But heading into that part of the Brimroar, there are 3 sets of lizard tracks that are line abreast. That is, moving in a skirmish line, not moving single file, a combat formation. And each one of those they're all carrying a mount, but then you can tell that following those in the track have the tracks of unmounted lizards that are falling behind each one of those mounted lizard bugbear combos.
Okay.
And can we get an idea of that speed?
At a walk.
At a walk. Okay. All right, so it looks like the losers went back to Bugbear Valley. The winners went the opposite direction.
Yeah, it seems
with 6 lizards, 3 mounted.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah. And so if there were 4 here initially and one of them died, that definitely supports your theory about...
Yeah.
Do you think we should follow him, try to catch up to him?
I kind of want to slightly change course and follow these guys down. If nothing else, just to at least talk with them.
Well, yeah, if they really are paladins, I wonder if they could help Shepton, if they could help protect Shepton.
Shepton would be a tricky place to introduce them because they're still bugbears.
But
That's
also,
true.
with a grander goal in mind, are they at least moving in the right direction, or are they kind of off in a different tangent from
You're
going
right.
towards...
Heading west, you're
cultural
exactly right,
interactions.
heading west, they're heading away from Shepton, and they're actually not even getting closer to Sarn-Tar-Azul.
No.
They're staying out of that valley that leads, really, it's the narrowest, deepest valley through the Redjek-Hegyek Mountains that go right to the edge of the Slagmark Desert, and that's where the throne is. So they're not going down there. So maybe they haven't gotten the word or don't know. Everyone knows that's not a good place to go through, so they're just heading west out of that. So it's a completely different direction altogether.
I think we should
It was also
finish.
3 days ago, so they could be very far away.
I think we should finish our quest first.
We're kind of on a mission from God.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay.
All right, so
You like that?
yeah, very Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
All right, so Jacob,
I could send him a message, but it could freak him out if a voice suddenly popped into their head.
I don't think you can send messages to people you don't know.
Yeah, but we know them. We might know them. I might be sending a message to the guy who died, but it could be the guy that used...
The car could not be completed as dialed.
It could
The
be. It could be sent to the person that you converted. I know that person.
I'd rather save telepathy till we know what mind we're contacting.
Okay.
That could be a dangerous game. Yeah, personally, I think heading on towards Sarn-Tar-Azul is our best call for now.
Okay, that makes
Then-
sense to me.
Yeah.
And once we're more established in this region, we can start figuring out, who's on whose side and who's where.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
all right, then Jacob, you're picking up on your former tract out of this region. Are you guys going to camp in the Bugbear camp tonight?
What
Is
is
it
it close to?
Yeah, is it about time for the evening?
Yeah, it was about that time. It was getting
Okay,
later
then.
in the day.
Yeah, might
and
as
then
well.
you spent a couple hours, really.
say,
scouting
A free
this
camp
whole
is a
area.
free camp. We'll use it while it's
Yeah.
here.
I'm going to swap out magic weapon for consecrate
Okay.
on my prepared spell list.
I'm gonna
Jacob, you
do that on the
notice that
grave
it's-
before we leave.
it looks like a lot of like middle game size animals are avoiding this area. You can see different things where there's mule deer down in the valley, and they're not heading up in this direction. Either there's no good source of water, or because they know that the area's been occupied by predators
Oh, yeah.
for a period of time. So
Okay.
you could probably set some snares if you wanted to, lighter game here. But it looks like the bugbears and the lizards have scared about everything away that would have lived in this area.
Well, may as well give it a shot. We're going to need food in the morning. So
Okay.
I'll set up the snares nearby for something small.
And Boris, what are you doing?
I am thinking I actually looked up a spell from a wrong edition.
Oh, okay. Keep looking. So
He's like
we'll
racking his
meta-play
brain
that
like,
in a
how did I do
moment.
that?
And we'll call it the next.
Yes. The spell I want
Okay,
is Hallow, which is a 5th level spell, so never mind.
Never mind. Yeah, so you could do
I don't
it
even
without,
think I get 5th level spells.
even without the spell casting, you can like dedicate it in your mind.
Yeah, no. The one I was initially thinking of was Ceremony, but
Yeah.
technically I need to touch the body.
Let's
and
not
I
do
guess we
that.
like
Instead of
digging up the
actually
guy.
making the grave nice, they just have your thoughts and prayers.
Given that's my source of power,
Yeah.
in two different modes. Yeah, but unironically.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Jacob, the next morning you have caught a small lizard in one of your. I say small. It probably weighs about
Like a dog-sized lizard.
20 pounds.
Yeah.
In one of your snares, and so you butcher that up for the morning.
Nice.
And so, Boris, what do you do or say or anything at that gravesite?
I will pray.
Okay,
I'm not doing any of the magical stuff
I understood.
because I net there isn't anything that'd be of real benefit.
Right, but sentiment taken.
Yeah.
There is a good possibility that
Yeah.
he was one of your own.
The homebrew third-party consecration I found was pretty neat, with the most important being when, quote, when the spell ends, the area is blessed by positive energy and becomes consecrated ground. If the area contains an altar, shrine, or other permanent fixture devoted to a deity, pantheon, or higher power with ideals vastly different from those represented by the holy symbol used in the casting, it is destroyed.
Wow.
Which I thought was pretty cool because any like necromancery, cleric-y, bad guy people roll up and try to interfere with grave region and just pop.
Yeah. Now,
See, we need to reach out to all of our
But
listeners and
that's
say,
not a
hey,
spell that
homebrew
exists.
stuff that's balanced and send it over to us and we'll use your third-party spells.
Ah, there you go.
I like that actually. But Boris, were you going to like
Do the thing what he just said.
Yeah.
were you going to set a couple of stones and put a larger slab across it to make an altar sort of thing in the spot?
Yeah, I can actually build a shrine here.
All right. So yeah,
If there's enough kind of moderate-sized stones, I'll establish more of a cairn over the paladin's grave.
all right. So a little bit of the morning time. Do either of you two give him a hand?
Sure, I'll help him out.
Yeah, I'm cooking lizard.
All right, so you set that up, and you do. You raise sort of a mound of stone, kind of like even like one flat enough to be altar-like on top of all of this, making it an actual site and not just a grave.
Right, yeah.
All right, then Jacob, go ahead and roll your survival to pick up on your tracks from yesterday. Go ahead and give your
17.
okay. I was gonna give yourself advantage because you had an idea before coming into this where you were going, but. Yeah, even your
Almost guaranteed to be higher. Do you still want advantage?
Yeah, why not? You got a net 20.
Oh my god.
So for almost guaranteed.
17. Oh, it is almost guaranteed.
yeah, it was, but yeah, he still rolled a natural 1 on the second
The
one.
other one was a 4.
Yeah. All right. No, that was plenty enough roll. You pick up your direction, and if you guys are all ready to fall back in line,
Yeah.
Yep.
you start back through what looks like some open field, very dry, very scrub-like, and a lot of trees. But you're imagining just way out there, some of the low hills you're seeing might actually be the ruins of Sarn-Tar-Azul.
Thanks for listening. Check out our meme repositories on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Empire's Edge. If you'd like to fund our addiction to D&D jokes and definitely not drugged rabbit, you can do so at subscribestar.com/the-empires-edge.